Well, thank you for having me. As we go through and talk about this tonight, you'll kind of hear a little bit about kind of how the journey I actually started getting into this. I was an academic for over 20 years, and then I stepped out to run this mental health center and institute. A couple of qualifiers before I start talking. One is, where is mental health in the Bible? But I'm going to kind of fudge it a little bit, and where is mental illness in the Bible? So we're going to look at that. And then the other things of this, why is that even important? Why is it important for us to look at the Bible and try to see if there's mental health problems there and how those people were treated and how that affects their relationship with God and how that might affect how we respond to that? Why is that important? Well, one of the reasons that is important is that today in the United States, a majority of people that have mental health problems, and I mean very serious mental health problems, receive no treatment. You really have to let that sink in. I mean, a majority of people with depression, schizophrenia, these disorders, they don't receive any care here in this country. I mean, if I was saying that about cancer, we'd be rioting in the streets, okay? But there is no other medical condition like that. There's no other one that you can even name in which a majority of the people with the illness do not receive any treatment. Now, there's a lot of reasons why they don't receive treatment. Some has to do with finances. Some has to do with the fact that we have just a disaster of a mental health care system that's almost impossible to access. But because of the fact that our system is so dysfunctional, people in psychological distress are more likely to go to a clergy in the United States before they go to a mental health care provider or physician. And what's really interesting about that statistic, which was found by the NIH in large epidemiology studies, is it's not people that are associated with faith communities necessarily, it's anyone. It's not necessarily people that believe in God, it's anyone in the general population is more likely to engage a clergy or minister before they go to a mental health care provider or physician first. And research that I've done and others have done find that unfortunately the majority of those people are not recognized by that minister or that church as having a mental health care problem, and they do not get referred on to care the way you would hope they would, okay? And then a subset of Christendom, what we find about 30 to 40% of churches, which I know that's really shocking that it's going to be that high, they spiritualize the phenomenon of mental health and basically say, well, if you've got depression, that's just a sin, and you just need to, say, read through the Psalms, which I've actually heard. I'll give you some good quotes from some good pastors in the South as we go through here of things that'll fix mental illness. Read through the Psalms. That'll make your depression go away. Or you need to pray more, or be anxious for nothing. You should never be anxious. And so, again, that's a problem. So if people are more likely to go to faith communities first when they're struggling, they're not being recognized, and a subset are being basically told that they're poor believers because they have a mental health care problem. We have to do better than that, okay? I think it's a divine opportunity that God is sending broken people. I mean, what else? People with cancer don't go to churches first, but people with mental health problems do. It wasn't the church that found that, it was the federal government that found that. So we need to do something about that. So one of the things I think we need to do is I think we need to step back and we need to say, okay, well, does the scripture have something for us in the context of mental health specifically? I mean, obviously in a general sense, we're supposed to take care of those who are suffering, and we're called to that kind of a ministry. But what does it specifically say about that? Because I've been telling Brad and others as I've been here today, I've been told some pretty crazy things by pastors in relationship to mental health. You should never be depressed because it says rejoice always. Have you read the rest of the Bible? I mean, that's horrible. Okay, so again, these are horrible misinterpretations of verses, but these damage people. Okay, so what I want to do tonight is I want to ask, what does the Bible say about mental illness? I once had a pastor tell me, and that's where a lot of this revision of this book that I wrote, a lot of the stuff I'll talk about tonight comes from. I had a pastor tell me that he did not believe that mental illness was real because it wasn't in the Bible. He said that to me. It's not in the Bible. Now, what he meant was it didn't say mental illness in the Bible. But I took that to really start to kind of think and say, well, I mean, is it in the Bible? I mean, what does it say in the Bible? Were these things that occurred in that time? Obviously, they didn't see them in the same way. So we'll talk about that as we go through. So is it in the Bible? So let's begin.